For a more immersive experience, I recommend using headphones. I spent that entire day lost in CS2. Gunshots thundering in my headset, enemies flickering on the screen, fingers clicking keys like a machine. It was that rhythm where you forget time exists. The world shrank to a glowing monitor, a crosshair, and flashes of light. I was in a 1 versus 2 clutch, rushing a site through a flashbang, and suddenly the screen flickered. Everything went dark. Monitor, router, desk, lamp. The apartment was swallowed by shadows. Only the PC fan kept spinning for a second. By inertia. Are you kidding me? I slammed my mouse against the wall. It clattered and bounced into the corner. I was furious. The power cut out at the worst possible moment. Now what? I muttered. I got up, clicking on my phone's flashlight. The beam cut through the room. Scattered socks, empty Monster cans, the clock on the wall. 1:13 a.m. I walked to the front door and opened it. The hallway was pitch black. I looked out the window. The neighboring houses in our Ohio suburb were dead. Not a single light. This wasn't just a tripped breaker. The whole district was gone. I opened Discord and messaged the guys. Power's out. No clue when it'll be back. They replied almost instantly. You ruined the match, man. Buy a damn UPS already. I sighed and locked the screen. Fine. Maybe it's a sign to sleep. Or my stomach growled, right? I hadn't eaten anything all day but chips. I walked into the kitchen. The flashlight beam swept the walls, catching the messy counters, a crumpled Doritos bag, a plate covered in crumbs, a sticky ring from a soda can. The fridge was silent. Its usual hum had died with the lights. Then, a smell hit me, pungent, rotting, like something had crawled under the floorboards and died. I winced in disgust as the light hit the cutting board. There it was. The chicken I'd taken out this morning. I meant to fry it, but I forgot. I played CS all day instead. The meat was covered in a slimy film. The edges were dark. The stench clung to my throat. I grabbed a trash bag, shoved the chicken inside, trying not to touch it. Then everything else followed. Empty cans, pizza crust, crushed cigarette packs. I tied the knot, tight, and headed to the hallway. Suddenly, my grandmother's voice echoed in my head. A memory from childhood. Don't take the trash out at night, boy. You'll invite misery into the house. I smirked, shaking my head. Grandma was always so superstitious. I threw on my old jacket, the one with the broken zipper, shoved my phone in my pocket, and clutching the stinking bag, I stepped out. The hallway was quiet. The elevator was dead, of course. My flashlight trembled, illuminating patches of dirty gray walls and concrete steps. The longer the light danced on the empty stairs, the more the cold crawled under my skin. It felt like the house was listening to my steps, holding its breath with me. I hurried outside. The wind hit me like a physical blow. I shivered, pulling my jacket closed. The streetlights were dark. The playground looked like a graveyard for toys. The swings creaked in the wind. I froze. Something crunched in the dark. I thought it was a stray cat. But the sound repeated. Thud, drag, thud. Steps. Strange, messy, excessively heavy steps. And they were getting closer. Then through the wind, a faint whistle. A light, careless melody, like someone was whistling right under your nose. It sounded so wrong in a dead yard. Screw this, I hissed. My heart dropped into my stomach. The smell from the bag got worse. In a panic, I threw it toward the bins and ran back to the door. I fumbled with my key fob. Nothing. The lock didn't click. Come on, come on. The whistling stopped. Whoever was there had gone silent. I slammed the key against the panel again. Finally, the lock clicked. I yanked the door open, and a voice spoke right behind me. "Hey, neighbor. What are you doing out here?" I turned around, slowly. My heart was hammering against my ribs. In the pale moonlight stood a familiar figure. Chad, the guy from the third floor. He was in a suit, no tie, swaying, smiling like an idiot. He smelled like a brewery. "Chad, damn it, you nearly gave me a heart attack." "Just not coming back from a party," he slurred. "You out for a walk?" "No, just the trash." Chad squinted at my empty hands. "Trash? So where is it? Why are you empty-handed?" I dropped it," I admitted, feeling the heat in my face. "Going back for it now." "Good luck," he chuckled. Then he turned serious. "Though, they say you shouldn't take the trash out at night. Bad omen, haven't you heard?" Yeah, whatever. Go home, Chad." I walked back to the bins. I felt like a coward, scared of a drunk neighbor. I reached the rusty containers, lifted the lid, and then a sound sliced the air. A long, loud groan of relief. I froze. My flashlight beam jumped and stopped on the edge of the bin. There was a hand, pale, with long, filthy nails. The fingers clutched the metal, trying to pull something up. "Hey, buddy," I whispered. I expected a homeless person to pop out, but nothing happened. The hand hung there, fingers twitching, grabbing the air, and then, from inside, a woman's voice, like the creak of a rotting door. "My food." The hand moved. It pulled itself up, and I realized it was detached. It was a limb, severed at the elbow, skin hanging in rags, rotten flesh. My flashlight shook as other parts began to crawl out. A leg, with a jagged bone sticking out, then a torso in shredded clothes. The ribcage was creaking like wood in a storm. They weren't just falling out, they were crawling toward each other, merging, like someone was building a doll out of broken parts. But it was wrong. A leg growing from a shoulder, arms sprouting from the stomach, joints grinding. Last came the head. The thing held it in its hand like a trophy, a woman, black tangled hair, one eye hanging from a socket, her mouth twisted into a rotten grin. It stood up, swaying. "My food." I started running. I didn't look back. I heard the thuds behind me, heavy, uneven, like parts were falling off and snapping back on mid-run. I made it inside. I locked the door. I barricaded it with a chair. Silence. And then the microwave. The power was back. I felt safe for a second, until I looked at my hand. I was still holding the trash bag. I opened the balcony door and shoved it outside to keep the stench out. I looked down. The yard was empty, quiet. I went to the kitchen to make tea. My hands were finally stopping their shake. The sound was coming from the balcony. I walked over. I pulled the curtain back. IT was there, pressed against the glass. That thing, stitched together from meat and madness. It slammed its head against the door. The plastic frame began to crack. I bolted. I ran into the hallway screaming for help. I pounded on Chad's door. "Chad, open up, please!" I heard footsteps inside, the rattle of a chain. He didn't open. He locked it further. No one opened. The whole building stood in silence, listening to my terror. From the stairs above, that voice again. "My food." I tripped. The world flipped upside down, pain flared, and then darkness. I woke up in a hospital, white walls, the smell of bleach. I tried to move, but something was different. My right leg was gone. I screamed until they sedated me. 2 days later, a detective came, Detective Miller. "We found you unconscious," he said, his voice heavy. "And we saw it over you, eating." I gasped. "You saw it?" "We shot at it. It didn't care. It jumped out the window and vanished by the bins. 10 years ago, a man in your building killed his wife, dissected her, put her in trash bags." He looked at me with pity. "Maybe she's just finishing her trip to the bins." I looked at the window. For a split second, I saw a face, a pale, dead face with one eye. I blinked. It was just a shadow. Was that just a shadow? If you like the story, please support the channel with a like and a subscription. See you soon.